Welcome to DC Home. My name is Ken Salle, and while it is not my practice to offer investment advice, mostly because I have no training in investing, no formal education, no time served at a brokerage, and a whole lot less money in the stock market than you probably have in your wallet, today I would like to provide my own perspective on investing. You see, when I was 10, my father took me aside. I think he was driving at the time, which is what made it really impressive. He took me aside and said, if you open a savings account right now and invest $10 a week, that's just $10 every week, you'll be a millionaire by the time you graduate high school. I don't know if he was right because I didn't get a bank account until I was 18. My family wasn't big on investing or saving for a rainy day, or taking care of ourselves, or looking after our own best interests, or caring in any substantive way about anything that really mattered. And besides, I grew up to be an author. My idea of investing money is buying just a bit more advertising time on Facebook. Was my dad right? There's no way to know for sure. My dad had a keen financial mind and a lot of education in the matter, but sadly he was also a fabulous liar, and no, it wouldn't have worked. All the same, he was trying in his own buttoned-down, middle-class, all the emotional intimacy of a dead rock kind of way to introduce me to the concept of investing. He just never got to the point of actually explaining it in a way that would make sense to anyone. He was good at that. The concept of investing is simple. The future is a dangerous place. Let's make it less dangerous. That's it. And this applies across the board. Let's say you were investing for your retirement. Why? Because there are plenty of things, accidents as well as hits your spouse takes out on you, that will require financial security to get through, which is another way of saying that the future is a dangerous place. In saving for it, you're trying to make it less dangerous. For another example, let's say you're investing in your relationship. You're investing love and care and patience and concern. Why? Well, you're doing that because the future is a dangerous place and you're making it less dangerous. Say you're investing in a home. Again, you're making the future less dangerous. Fortunately, I'm not here to talk to you about investing in any of the other scams we are presented with as being safe financial investments. You're on your own there. What I am here to talk to you about is the investments you make in your own self-esteem, in your dignity, in your pride. These being the opposite of self-loathing, baseness, and shame, which happens just as surely as poverty results from poor financial investments. These take the same kind of diligence and hard work it takes to make money. And the reason I'm here to talk to you about that, why investing, is because I've spent the last few weeks trying to come up with a way to explain why Oswald Watts has taken up residence at the East Falls Church metro station down by Benjamin Benneker Park beneath the Custis Memorial Parkway. And the fact of the matter is, I couldn't. The world kept falling apart, and every week felt worse than the week before. And what do I care about Oswald Watts for anyway? Self-Righteous Fatass in the morning? Who goes by a name like that? Who stands in the daylight and insists on shadows everywhere, convincing you of them even when you can see the sunlight with your own eyes? Who preys upon the weak-minded for a living? What kind of person bleeds the ignorant dry and then complains that the knowledgeable just aren't ignorant enough? Well, everyone at Fox News, that's who. the folks at Newsmax, all of Trump's talking heads, the right-wing power machine. There are literally thousands preying upon the stupid and the weak-minded and the uneducated and the Republican every day in America. And also, lest we forget, Alan Oswald Watts. And I would never have heard what happened to him. I would never have heard about him leaving WGNO, retiring from radio completely, because I live on the West Coast. I don't get WGNO. And I mean that literally as well as in a more philosophical sense. I honestly don't get any of those people. The troubles of one middle-aged, right-wing, white male radio host may have been worth a hill of beans, but they were trampled by the thousands upon thousands who have been shouldering the troubles of the world to save it for the rest of us. But they mattered to Sherry Finn. And when I called back east to see how the folks at DC Home were doing, it was Alan Oswald Watts who Sherry kept referring to. Granted, she made sure to inform me that Miss Alicia was still in the hospital and very little had been heard about her condition. Granted, Miss Alicia has no family. The folks at DC Home are all she has, and they're not getting the most up-to-date information, almost as if there's some kind of crisis going on in the hospitals or something. Sherry told me about Sean and his ongoing flirtation with a girl who is clearly not interested. Not uninterested either, but clearly not the kind of interested Sean's looking for. Sherry worried that Daisy was being too kind and that Sean would never get the hint. He might live his whole life expecting her to come around at any minute. Old Herbert's been quiet too, and Sherry tells me that her part of DC seems to have been calming down. But she kept going back to the topic of the Self-Righteous Fatass. She tells me she ran into him about a week ago. She would never have known he was there had she not run into him. It seems he had been doing a pretty good job hiding where he couldn't be seen. If you know the East Falls Church Station, you know there are a lot of places to hide if you don't want to be seen, and Alan Oswald Watts had something else working in his favor, another arrow of revulsion up his sleeve. Actually, it was in his lungs. And the arrow had a name on it, and the name was COVID-19. In the month since he was diagnosed, Alan Oswald Watts had lost everything. He wasn't entirely certain how. After all, he'd been living with a fever over 102 degrees for more than a month. And every time his fever broke, he found he had less and less. And this was before the hospital bills. As a result, he kept down and laid low, only moving when he had to or when he felt it was possible. Sherry would never have run into him at all had he not been shuffling towards a water fountain. No mask on his face, Alan Oswald Watts wore 3 layers of clothing, which he removed and replaced as his body temperature did the cha-cha up and down the thermometer. His fever had broken and taken hold so many times, it was now the new normal. Sherry didn't recognize him at first. She watched a homeless man shuffle towards the water fountain, hacking the contents of his lungs upon the concrete, only to be turned away from his fellow citizens, all of whom were fully prepared, masks on their faces. We in America are taught that investments are important. This is drilled into our heads over and over. But we're taught about that in terms of money, and only in terms of money, in dollars and cents cents. It makes little sense, these dollars and cents, because money is nothing more than a concept we assign value to. Money is an abstraction used to connect everything else. It connects us to our things. It connects our things to us. But as it turns out, money does very little to connect us to each other or to connect us to ourselves. When we try, it feels like a poor substitute. It's like receiving a gift card on your birthday. The only reason we would like it is if we wanted money, which again uses an abstraction to connect us, which does not make for very strong connections because money is only an abstraction of what we really want. When we want to connect with ourselves, we don't give ourselves money. We don't give ourselves a gift card. We don't give ourselves store credit. We give ourselves love and time and patience and understanding. That's how we invest in ourselves. And when we wish to connect to others, the same sort of currency swap takes place because money simply doesn't connect us the way that love and care and understanding and empathy connect us. And when you have that connection, you can feel it. And whatever meaning money held for us dissolves away. Money becomes meaningless. The money Alan Oswald Watts had put so much value in was now tied up in various courts and lawyers. And Alan Oswald Watts wouldn't confirm just how much he had lost of his money, but Sherry told me that she bought him a coffee from a machine and that he cried when he accepted it. She sat down with him on one of those concrete benches they have, a wide stretch of nothing between them. Sherry didn't have to worry about anyone sitting between them, not with the way Alan Oswald Watts looked and smelled. She asked him what had become of him. And Alan Oswald Watts told her a story. In a weak voice, he told her about a recent decision he had made to save his career, to bounce out of the muck and come out on top. And then people would listen to him when he told them to listen to the president. They'd understand when he told them that they all had to get together, get out of their homes, gather together in movie theaters and bars and rallies, take off their masks, breathe deep so that everyone got the virus. And it could be over in maybe just 2 weeks, just as soon as all the necessary millions died off. That way the stock market could get back to the important work of creating wealth. I don't know how Sherry spent so much time with him. We live in a time when any white woman with a bad attitude is shunned and granted the epithet of Karen. But right-wing blowhards who spew hate and cripple our society are tolerated just fine. I don't get it. I would never have listened to Alan Oswald Watts. I wouldn't have cared if he died there at the East Falls Church Station over by WGNO. In fact, I hope he does. But Sherry? Sherry bought him a coffee. And she told him about DC Home. She invited Alan Oswald Watts within their walls for just as long as they remained. He could have had his own shelter, socially distant from everyone else. But Alan Oswald Watts would not hear of it. He had investments brewing, he said. Money would be coming in any day now. Sherry and I talked about Alan Oswald Watts for a while. We couldn't understand why he valued all the wrong things. His new plan is to endorse a libertarian candidate in 2020, now that Trump's brand is damaged, and ride that dead horse for just as long as people only think the Republican Party is the problem. Sherry wished him well, though she's not so sure if he'll make it living in a metro station. Weather's getting hot and muggy, and nobody is doing anything about the pandemic in which we find ourselves, and which some of us find in ourselves. Washington, D.C. has its hands in all our homes. Welcome to D.C. Home. Until next time. be good to yourself, be kind to others, and let's make this world a better place. This is Ken LaSalle, and I just wanted to thank you for stopping by for this episode of DC Home. For more information about myself and the work I do, I invite you to take a look at my website at kenlasalle.com. You can also find me on Amazon, Audible, iTunes, and anywhere you find ebooks, paperback books, and audiobooks online. That's also where you'd find DC Home Season 1, available in ebook and in audio. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube by searching my name, Ken LaSalle. And thank you, as always, for your support.